Morning everybody. Thank you very much for getting up on such a cold morning. I had to scrape the ice off the car for the first time since last winter this morning, but hopefully the content of what we're going to talk about today will leave you feeling a little bit warmer by the end of the presentation than you were at the start of it. Now, there's quite a few familiar faces, or familiar to me, in the audience today. But there's also quite a lot of people that I don't know, and quite a lot of people that don't know me. So, for those of you that don't know me, my name is Malcolm Palmer. I'm the managing partner of A4G Chartered Accountants. We're based a couple of miles down the road. And the one thing that you need to know about me is that I love numbers. Always have done. Reason I'm an accountant. And a few years ago, I stumbled across this little saying that was, if you can measure it, you can manage it. And as an accountant and somebody that loved numbers, this appealed to me. The thought that any aspect of your business, if you can find a way of measuring how well it's doing or how badly it's doing, then you have the power to manage it far more effectively. So let's just talk a little bit about the current climate. I'm an accountant after all, so there's a little bit of doom monger in there all the time. So let's tell you about some of the things that might be going on at the moment. In most industries at the moment, there is more supply than demand. And we know what effects that is having on all of the businesses in those industries. The effect of the government cuts is going to impact significantly over the next year. Now, I know some of you might be directly affected by that. It may be that some of the work that you do comes directly from contracts from local government, national government, etc. But some of you are not working for government in any way. But some of your customers will be customers of customers of customers of people that do their work for national government. And we will all be affected by the big cuts that are going to happen. There is still inflationary pressure on some of our costs, particularly the costs that we have where the base cost comes from abroad. The movement in the exchange rate has pushed up some of the prices of key raw materials, and there's that general knock-on effect to all the sorts of things that we buy within our business. And lastly, for those of you who have retail businesses or who deal with the general public, we've got the effect of the VAT rate increase. Are you going to be able to just add that extra 2.5% onto your invoices, or are you going to have to absorb that yourself? So how's business for all of you at the moment? I suspect that for many of you, you're fighting to keep your customers against fierce competition. Hopefully, some of you are that fierce competition and you're fighting to get business from your competitors. You may be experiencing with your customers that they're querying invoices, they're paying you slowly, they're very price sensitive even on the smallest item. It may be that you've had to initiate some pay cuts within your business. Maybe the first pay cut you took was your own, but maybe you've had to have pay cuts for other people within the business. Maybe you've had to make cutbacks, get rid of some of those unnecessary costs. The one thing that most people are telling me this year, or have been telling me for the last 12, 18 months, is that they're working harder for less money, but they're all still here. So what now? What changes need to be made, and how are you going to go about making them within your business? Well, the first thing that most people do is they start by cutting overheads, because it's the easiest area of the business to have a look at. Some people look at downsizing their premises, maybe moving somewhere cheaper, maybe subletting some of their spare space to another small business that's looking for a little bit of spare capacity. Maybe you are that business that's going to be subletting that space. Maybe you're even negotiating with landlord to get a reduction in rent. One of our clients over the last year has looked for retail premises that are empty and has gone around making offers of £1 a year rent to the owners of those premises on the basis that they will pay the rates for those premises and will keep them properly maintained during that period. and they've actually taken over 3 different retail premises on that basis. Only on short-term leases, but that does show that it's tough times even for landlords that are out there. It may be that you need to look for cheaper suppliers. Some of your suppliers that perhaps give other customers better deals than you and just taking you for granted a little bit. Perhaps you need to start looking around to see if you can get somebody that's prepared to do it cheaper and maybe even to a better standard. Perhaps most importantly, you should be looking to get rid of those unnecessary costs, some of those subscriptions to organisations that you haven't attended for 4 or 5 years and get no benefit from, some of those mobile phone bills for people that never make a business call within your business. Have a look at all those costs and just get rid of some of the waste. It's really important that you review your pricing, and that doesn't necessarily mean downwards. But the first thing you've got to do is compare your prices to your competitors. Do you know the prices of your competitors? How much information have you got? Maybe you should be getting somebody to ring up 1 or 2 of your competitors posing as a potential customer and just see if you can get some price lists. Just know whether you are uncompetitive on price or maybe whether you've cut your prices a little bit too much just because you're frightened of losing business, but perhaps unnecessarily so. Possibly you need to think about differentiating in some areas. What the big companies do very well is that for everything they sell, they will have a cheaper alternative. So we all know that if we go into the supermarkets, the own brand goods are often the same goods as the ones that have got a brand name on. Have you got a way of coming up with a cheaper version of whatever it is you do that you can sell to those that are much more price sensitive than your other customers? Maybe you need to think about having a slightly more expensive version of some of the things that you do so that the people that value whatever it is you do or whatever you sell more than others are able to get a bigger and better version. If you have got some rising costs, then you need to become a little bit of a PR guru over the next year or so, because you need to be able to justify to your customers where you are having to increase prices. If you can explain to people the reasons why, because maybe raw materials that you're buying have gone up, then people will often understand. But if you don't explain that very well, then they might start looking for other suppliers of whatever it is that you sell. There are some other much tougher decisions out there to make. The first one is redundancies. I know that almost certainly some of the people in this room have made redundancies within their business. It's crucial that you get that right. The employment lawyers that we know always tell us that most industrial tribunals are won by employees because employers failed to follow the right procedures, not because the employer was necessarily actually in the wrong. So if you're going to have to make redundancies, you need to make them quickly, you need to make them in one go. Nothing more demoralising for staff to work in a business where one person gets made redundant this week, a few weeks later another person gets made redundant. All that will do is demoralise those of your staff that are the best ones within the business, because they'll be wondering who's next. And actually 1 or 2 of them might want to be the one who's next, because they might want the redundancy payoff. I'm being steered over to the right here by our cameraman, so if any of you do nod off, by the way, the film of today will be on our website in about 10 days' time, and we'll send an email out to it. Other tough decisions. Maybe you've got to cut hours of some of your staff, or perhaps even the pay levels. Now this stuff can be done, but again you need the right advice. You need to talk to a good employment lawyer or somebody who offers a good HR service. NatWest have got their mentor service. Federation of Small Businesses offer help in that area as well. So you've got to do these things properly if you need to do them. And it might be that these are the things you've got to do in order to make your business survive. The different product lines you've got, need to question them now. Do you cease some of them, continue some of them, introduce some new ones? It might well be that some of the things that you are selling, you're now selling so much less of it than before that the overheads associated with that particular product line mean that you're no longer making a profit on it. So question every single product line that you sell. Think about other product lines that you can get. Think about the customers that you've got, and if they buy your services or your products, what other things do they buy? You need to do a similar exercise with your salesmen as well. Now, I think anybody in this room who's employed a salesman will know that salespeople are the hardest people to employ. First of all, by their very nature, they're more likely to be a little bit of a loose cannon than some of the other members of staff. But also, they're working outside of your environment. They are doing perhaps the most important job in the business, but you can't actually see them doing it. So if you haven't got a way of measuring how well they're doing, then they could be doing badly for you. They could be even losing you business. But of course, equally, they might be doing very well for you. And if you haven't got a way of rewarding that success, then sooner or later they'll disappear off or they'll just become demotivated. So if you're a salesman, you need to know when to reward and when to reprimand. Similar decisions need to be made with regard to assets. It's very easy to just rein everything in when times are tough, but possibly that means that you don't make decisions that are crucial for your business. Do you invest in that new piece of equipment, or do you make do amend with the existing one? Similar decisions on advertising. Again, very easy to cut the advertising budget because the business is struggling, but actually what that might result in is just a decline, that sort of vicious spiral. Less advertising means less new business, etc., etc. The classic thing with advertising is that people don't necessarily know which bits of advertising they've got that are paying for themselves and which bits are a waste of money. So finding a way of measuring what is working for you and what isn't is crucial. But how do you go about making those right decisions? Now, my experience is that for many business owners, decisions are made on only two sources of information. And I'll start with the bit that we have a little bit of input on, the year-end accounts. The second thing that people make decisions on is gut feeling. And I'm going to talk about both of those things.